What's going on? Hey guys. All right, I got some stuff I want to go over with you guys. I had a couple good buddies, really good friends, um, hit me up and they're like, "Hey, let's do a debate and let's talk about." And they're in the turnkey space, so they're like, "Let's have a debate." And I want to talk about why single family rentals are better than commercial rentals. And we'll do it. Maybe we'll raise some money for charity and blah blah blah. It's all in good faith. And they're good friends of mine. I love these guys. Um, but I was thinking about this, and I was like, you know what? I want to actually. I feel so bad. I agree to do a debate with them, so I think it's going to be like the last week in October or something. And I almost feel bad about how much of a just slaughter it's going to be in the pro apartment building realm. That I wanted to give them a whole bunch of my talking points, so that way they can work on it for the next 2 to 3 weeks and try to circumvent in some way or come up with some sort of a strategy to to debate me about this, because otherwise they're going to need a body bag by the time this debate's going to be over with, right? So what I wanted to do is give them the top 5 reasons why multifamily and apartments smoke single family rentals. All right, so I have some notes on my computer, so bear with me while I go through this stuff, guys. All right, number 1, hang on a second, I'll give you the top 5. All right, number 1, scalability. Here's what I mean by that. Let's talk about one 50-unit apartment building or 50 single-family houses. Who do you have to negotiate with? How many people do you have to negotiate with single-family houses? 50 of them. 50 people. I have to go negotiate with one seller, right? So just in the negotiations alone and visiting properties, you negotiate with one seller versus 50 sellers. A lot more scale in that. How about due diligence? You drive to one location versus 50 locations. You call up the utility company on one location versus 50 locations. You do a tax lien, a title search on one location versus 50 locations. There's so much more scale. It's so much less expensive by looking at one property versus 50. Financing. This is all still under scalability, right? Financing is much more scalable. Instead of me having to go raise money and get loans for 50 properties, I can just go do it for one property, right? It's just easier. It's easier to underwrite. It's easier to put an investment summary together. It's easier to do all those things because you have so much more scale and you're looking at one property instead of 50 properties. Project management. I meet a contractor at one property instead of 50 properties. I save money because they're only driving to one property instead of 50 properties. I'm able to put in 50 kitchens in one location instead of at 50 different locations. If we have excess supplies at one of these other locations over here, you got to then transport it to location 2, 4, 5, 50, 60, whatever it is, versus having everything on site and being able to pull from the same batch all the time. Property management. As far as scalability goes, what do you pay for single family rental property management? Typically 8 to 10%, depending on how many properties you own and what the rental rates are. You know what I pay in my apartments? 3 to 3.5% is what I pay in property management fees. Just more scale to it, right? It's more, because they're all in one location, the logistics are so much easier to operate, manage, and take down those kinds of deals. So number 1, scalability. Number 2, sophistication. And here's what I mean by sophistication. There are just more, I don't want it to sound like I don't know, pretentious or anything, but there's more business savvy people in commercial real estate than there are in residential real estate. You don't have the fly-by-night wholesalers, not as much anyways, still get some. So that's 1. Number 2 is contractors. Instead of having Billy Bob, who's in his pickup truck, driving over to your rental property to go and do a renovation, and all of a sudden it breaks down, you got to pay to have it towed to the nearest mechanic to have it looked at, and then you're paying for that, taking it out of his profits or what you're going to pay him, just so that way this guy can get to the job site on time. Because that's who you deal with is in these Billy Bob the handyman and his pickup truck coming out to your property to renovate them on the single family side, right? Because he knows how to swing a hammer, but he doesn't know business, he doesn't know finance, he doesn't know how to save money, or he just doesn't understand those things, right? Ask me how I know, because I friggin' did it, right? Like, my background is in residential. I was in residential real estate from 2009, actually owning from 2009 to 2017, I think, is when I got rid of my last single family. And I started buying apartments in 2012, but went full time in 2017. So I actually spent more of my real estate career in residential than I have in multifamily. So ask me how I know about Billy Bob and his pickup truck and having to pay for his mechanics and having all that stuff cleaned up, right? So versus somebody who understands not just how to swing a hammer, right? Like, when I had contractors on the residential side, I'd give them a bunch of work. As soon as I found somebody who did good work, I'd give them a bunch of work, and they would implode. Why? Because they knew the mechanics and the technical aspect of contracting, but they didn't know the business side. In order to grow any big business, you need both, right? You need the technical elements and you need the business know-how. And on the residential side, they know how to swing a hammer, they're really good at that, but they don't know how to build a business. They don't know how to build a team. They don't know how to put accounting and bookkeeping and all these different kinds of things together in order to sustain a growing business. When you get into commercial real estate and you're talking to people who are building roads and bridges and hotels and multifamily apartments, they understand the business aspects of running a business. It's not just, do you swing a hammer the right way? They have insurance in place that you don't have to worry about. They have KPIs in place for their team. They have they do background checks on all their employees. You don't have to worry about showing up and somebody's got a needle in their arm. There's all these different things of more that are other levels of sophistication in commercial real estate. They can guarantee timelines. They can guarantee budgets because they have all their stuff dialed in, right? So you're just dealing with a higher sophistication of contractors, a higher sophistication of suppliers, right? When I go to Home Depot, I can go to Home Depot and I can order stuff for a kitchen on the single family side. On the multifamily side, I put in 1,500 kitchens last year. Even if you just had 50 going to a single location, it gives you a little bit more buying power. And they don't just give you the person who's working at the front register to talk to. You actually have a dedicated representative to get you your paint at Sherwin-Williams, to get you your cabinets at XYZ supplier, to get you your countertops, to get you your flooring. And they're calling you. And you're talking to one person and dealing with one person who jumps through all these hoops to get things shipped directly to you, right? Like, we have storage containers on site that are packed with cabinets and material and supplies. And as we run through it and as we renovate units, they just keep on filling it up, right? There's other layers of sophistication and benefits to doing commercial at a higher volume than doing single family and jumping over all of God's green earth. Property managers, right? Like, think about, here's my background. I started out, and I went through like this graduation as a real estate investor. I started out as an agent, then I started wholesaling, then I started flipping, the HGTV houses, then I got into turnkey real estate of flipping, and then I got into holding a single family, and then a small multi, and then a bigger multi, and I grew my business over time as I became more sophisticated, right? And this, I think property managers and contractors do the same thing. First the contractors doing some fix-up stuff, and then all of a sudden they're renovating an entire house, and then all of a sudden they're putting on an addition, and then all of a sudden they're building a house, and then they're building a development, then they get into commercial and they're building roads and bridges and all these other things. Same thing with property managers. My property manager manages 22,000 units. Like, you have to have some serious business processes in place to manage 22,000 units, right? And because they manage 22,000, they can reduce their overhead because they have so much scale, which allows you to work with somebody who just really understands business. Mortgage brokers. I have some really good friends who are mortgage brokers and have their own businesses in the single family side, and their entire company does $100 million a year. You know what my mortgage broker did in commercial side? Him alone, by himself, did $300 million last year in loan originations. Why? Because it's just more scalable, And he's an extremely sophisticated guy. He's got a master's in finance and all this other stuff. So super, super sharp. You're just dealing with people who know how to get things done at a higher level. All right, my private money lenders. Before, when I used to take $15,000 and $20,000 and $30,000 private money loans, I'd have people calling me all day, every single day, because that was their life savings. What's going on with my money? What's going on with the project? It's like, listen, you're a passive lender. Stop actively calling me, right? And when I got into commercial real estate, and I made it a $100,000 minimum to invest in my projects, guess what happened? These were people that had $100,000 to invest with me, and it wasn't their last $100,000. They had multiple hundreds of thousands, or they had millions of dollars that they were sitting on, and they were making hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in their traditional business, and they were too busy in their traditional business to pick up the phone and bother me on a daily or weekly basis. So you know what they said? Tim, here's the money. Make sure the payments hit. Give me a quarterly update, and let me know when it's time to roll it into another deal, right? And that is exactly how it's gone. And so it's just easier because you're dealing with somebody who's not strangled by the woes and concerns of what happens to this money. Because chances are, if you got 100,000, you got multiple hundreds of thousands, and you're just dealing with somebody who really understands finance, understands capital management, and all these other things that allow me to be better at my job, because now I'm not playing customer service representative with my private money lenders. So number 1 was scale. Number 2, sophistication. Number 3, financing. I love this one. I'm excited about this one. Think about this. Commercial real estate is an asset-based, apartments are asset-based, not borrower-based when obtaining financing. Meaning when I go and I got my vacation rentals down in Florida, which are absolutely getting crushed right now. So if anybody wants to take a vacation to a 9-bedroom house with its own screened-in lanai, with a hot tub and its own pool and amazing, beautiful home built 2 years ago, I'll rent it to you for, I don't know, $199 a night. Like I'm just getting slaughtered, so I just got to get revenue. Shoot me a private message. But anyways, when I got the loans on those were based on me as the borrower. And they looked 90% at me and only 10% based on the asset. Shift over to multifamily. Multifamily is 90% based on the asset and only 10% based on the borrower. They care about the property far more than they care about me as the borrower. Now, they still double check and make sure you get the net worth and liquidity and the experience and your credit is run. But otherwise, it's all about the asset and what does the asset produce, not necessarily what is my paycheck. How much do I bring home W-2 income on an annual basis? Non-existent, doesn't even care, right? Also in financing, it doesn't affect my personal credit. I own 4,180 units that I'm the managing member of. If you look at my credit, guess how much is on there? I owe probably $200 to $210 million to private money lenders and banks. So probably, I don't know, about 160 is owed to banks. Guess how much you see on my credit? You see my 2 vacation rentals though, but you don't see my own, but you don't see any of my commercial real estate. It does not affect my personal credit at all. The other thing is, how like in single family, you only have 10 like Fannie Mae loans that you can get on single family houses? There's no limitation in commercial. I can buy as much property as I possibly want, and actually it makes me more bankable with the more property that I own. It's just different, right? No seasoning requirements, meaning, and like sourcing requirements. When I was getting those single family houses, the vacation rentals, they're like, where'd this money come from? Why is it in and out so much? Like, dude, I'm a commercial real estate investor. I own lots and lots of units. Do you have any idea how much money comes in and out of my bank account on a monthly basis? They wanted me to source and season everything over like $5,000 or $10,000. I'm like, dude, there's multiple 7 figures coming in and out on a monthly basis. So in commercial real estate, they get it, right? They want to see the money there, at least a standard, average balance for a couple of months. But there's no like, where'd the money come from, and this and that, and giving you a rectal exam over all of that. As far as financing goes, another reason is non-recourse. Like, what does that mean? That means when I get a single family loan, I'm personally guaranteeing that loan. If the loan goes bad, they're coming after me and what my net worth is, any bank accounts that I have, they're coming after me personally. In commercial and in multifamily and apartment buildings, a non-recourse loan you can get on a stabilized asset. That means it's 90% occupied, renovated, it's at market rate rents. And so if it's stabilized and you're buying it, or you fix it up and you refinance it into a stabilized loan that's like Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, CMBS, life insurance companies, whatever, debt funds, you can go get a non-recourse loan. That means the only recourse that that bank has against that loan going bad is the property itself. They are not coming after you personally if that loan goes bad. Now, there's some carve-outs, right? Like they're called bad boy clauses, where if you lie, cheat, steal, grossly negligent, fraudulent, then they will come after you personally. But if the big business in town goes out of business, takes all the jobs with it, and the occupancy drops, and they come in and the property's not performing anymore, and you got to give it back to the bank, you move on, the bank takes it back, they're not coming after you personally. The other thing is, like, in single family, they want to know where the down payment money is coming from. It has to come from you as the borrower. In multifamily, they expect you to go out and raise private money for the down payment. They don't necessarily require money to come from you personally. Some lenders do, it kind of just depends, but at least like a small portion of it. But majority of lenders don't care if you go and syndicate capital and you use other people's money for the down payment. It's standard operating procedure. It's what everybody does in commercial real estate. You don't have to have your own stockpile of cash to do all your deals like you do in single family. In commercial, different ballgame. And the other thing is like the predictability of value. Meaning in single family, you're judging this single family's value based on the house that just sold 5 doors down on the same street. And it's comparable approach. That's what single family valuations are based on. In multifamily and commercial real estate, it's based on the income approach. The income approach says, here's the income, here's the expenses, here's the net operating income, and it's a multiple or a cap rate of that net operating income. So what does that do? That means it's very predictable of what the value is going to be. Because if another house down the street over here sells at a basement bargain price, then guess what? It's going to adversely affect your property because it's based on comparables, not based on the income approach. The income approach is very, very predictable. I know exactly what a property is going to be worth once I renovate it before I ever even buy it. Like down to, I don't know, a couple percentage points based on what the rents and stuff that I get are. But it's very predictable. I know what all the income is. I know what all the expenses are going to be. I know what the cap rate's going to be and the valuation's going to be. And so it allows me to have much more predictability and lesser risk in my business, right? Because of the financing side of things. All right, so number one was scale. It's the first reason why apartments smoke single family. Number two is sophistication of the people you're dealing with and working with. Number three is the financing. Number four is additional revenue streams. When I own a single family house, how many revenue streams do I have? Rent. All I have is rent. Versus commercial real estate, my apartment buildings. I got rent. I have laundry income. I have storage lockers. I have parking. I have garage space. I have signage that I can rent out on the side of my building or on some extra land. I could put up cell phone towers on top. I can do valet trash where my maintenance guy takes the trash out. My maintenance guy, I could also send him out on an hourly basis and staff him out and I don't know, help people put together their IKEA furniture or something if I wanted to. Vending machines, like there's so many different ways to generate revenue on the multifamily side that you don't have on the single family side. So number four is revenue streams. Number five, you guys know this one, there's more juice in the squeeze. And here's what I mean by that. For the exact same amount of work, there is far more reward. And because there's so much extra equity, so much extra juice in the squeeze, it's not that more complicated, right? You're just adding some zeros. But because there's so much more juice in the squeeze, you can attract A players into your business and compensate them in a way where they have profit share or equity, where now you can bring A players on to take things off of your plate. It allows you to focus on what you're really good at, stay in your genius zone, and attract people with similar values, but complementary skill sets. My COO, Matt Carlin, loves spreadsheets, loves organization, and loves putting standard operating procedures in place, loves checklists, loves it. I can do that, but it takes me out of my driver zone, puts me into a drainer zone. I can do it, but he can do it better. He can do it faster. He can do it more efficiently, more effectively than I can. At the same time, I can go and raise money more effectively, more efficiently, better than he can. So now, because I'm not taking my time and doing draining activities, and same thing with him, right? He's staying in a driver mode, I'm staying in a driver mode. 1 + 1 = 3. The whole is greater than the sum of the parts. We can accomplish more together because we're now building a watermelon. And I can have 25 or 50% ownership in a watermelon, which is a lot more than 100% of a grape, which allows me to attract A players. Nobody gets excited on a single family that has friggin' $20,000 of profit built in. What are you going to attract 4 A players and carve it all up and say everybody gets $5,000? No, that's not exciting for anybody. But when I'm buying an apartment building, it has $4 million of equity that I just bought last week. Was that this week or last week? I think it was last week. Last week, 128 units, into it for $7 million, worth $11 million, $4 million bucks of equity. My team and I own 45% ownership in that. That increased our net worth between me and my team, $1.9 million. Right? And there were other joint venture partners who increased their net worth by $1 million bucks too. And then our private money lenders have equity, and they have about a quarter of the equity, so increase their net worth by $1 million. And I'm able to get all these A players into the business because we're talking about millions of dollars of juice in the squeeze, right? So it's a way that you can buy residual income producing assets and layer it with a passive management business, with passive partnerships, a passive management, asset management, where it gives you the lifestyle that you're looking for. Does that make sense? It is magical. Like, I went to Spain for a month last year, and we closed on 400 units that I had nothing to do with. I actually think I'm at to a point. I'm still involved because I have to sponsor the loans and stuff, and sign. But I think I can actually give, power of attorney to like Fatty and have him sign on the loans. My team does all the due diligence. They source the deals, right? I have power of attorney, have somebody else sign on the loan docs for me. I don't know if the lenders would allow that or not. And my team handles all asset management, project management, property management, all of it, capital management, all of it. It's all because I can bring in A players to handle that stuff. And because there's so much more juice in the squeeze, we're making so much more money on multifamily than we ever did on single family because of the scalability, because of the financing, because of the different revenue streams, because of the sophistication of the people that we're working with, and because there's so much more juice in the squeeze that it allows us to have the lifestyle that I'm looking for, right? To have residual income layered with passive management, giving me the lifestyle I'm looking for. Here's what I'll tell you. You got to get into multifamily, right? Like the size of your success, write this down actually. The size of your success is directly correlated to the size of your thinking. The size of your success in life is directly correlated to the size of your thinking. I don't care if you have a GED or a PhD. How many people do you know that have a ton of talent and it's just wasted? Right? And at the same time, I know people that are decently sophisticated, they're no smarter than you or me, that are in multifamily and commercial real estate, and they just think at a bigger level. And they're thinking so big, and you're like, dude, if this guy's making money, I'm gonna get rich doing this, right? I'm gonna change my family's financial future forever. So the size of your success is directly related to the size of your thinking. And here's what I'll leave you guys with. Funny you should ask, Tim, how do we get into apartment buildings? It's still kind of outside of my bandwidth. Well, guess what? You asked a really good question because I just bought out my Commercial Empire brand from my publishing partners. And so it allowed me to take a $5,000 price live in-person event, make it virtual. I cut a bunch of the overhead, and I can do it for $500 now. So this is the first event that my team's taken over ourselves, and we're going to do an event October 29th and 30th of this month, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern time for $500. That's it. We're going to go over everything you need to know on how to find off-market direct-to-seller deals, how to underwrite these things in less than 5 minutes. You don't need fancy spreadsheets and garbage. How to fund them, how to rate. I have about a little over $50 million of private money in play right now. And it's all mom and pop, no institutional funds whatsoever. I'm going to teach you guys exactly how we raise capital, how we structure it with the financing and our investors and stay SEC compliant with everything, how we renovate and go through the value add process, how we put the right tenants in place, how we put the right management in place, how we operate these things with the right KPIs and metrics, and how we can asset manage from anywhere in the world virtually because of the right teams and people that we have in place. So again, it's October 29th and 30th, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., 2 days, done virtually, online, on Zoom, only $500. If you're interested, email my director of marketing. Her name is Kate Weatherly. Kate at legacywealthholdings.com. Kate at legacywealthholdings.com. Email her, tell her you want in on it. She'll get you all set up and squared away and let you know how to reserve a seat. And it's going to be off the chains. So I'm super pumped about it. If you guys have any questions on this, any commentary on this, please let me know. Hopefully this helps my friends who will be debating at the end of the month. And this way, again, you don't go into a body bag, right? I don't want to embarrass you in front of all these people on social media, but you're going to have a very, very hard nut to crack if you think you're going to compete with me and my knowledge on multifamily investing over single family investing. It's just not going to happen, guys. And you telling me that single family rentals are better than multifamily rentals, those are fighting words. So guess what? I'm rolling up my sleeves, I'm getting into the ring, and I'm ready. So anyways, I love those guys. My boy Alex Pardo, I think, is going to be hosting it, and Dave Payerchin, who I saw just said some really nice things about me. So Dave, I love you, buddy. Yeah, if you guys got to plug into that. I'm sure we'll be promoting it, and I think it's just gonna be a freebie. We might be raising some money for some nonprofits and stuff. So it'll be a cool, fun event, and there's a few of us that are gonna be involved in it. A couple multifamily guys, a couple single family guys. So it'll be good. But anyways, love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Have an awesome weekend, and be safe and be your best. I'll see you guys.